What's going on YouTube, it's calsoscoped. In this video today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your own underwater manipulation that you see here with Anthony Edwards in Photoshop. So let's not waste any time, let's get right to the tutorial. Make sure you guys share with a friend if this helped you out and drop a like. Sub up to the channel, man, let's get it. Alright guys, so today I'm going to be turning this Anthony Edwards photo into an underwater scene, and the first thing that you want to do before you even start going is, if you get these images off Getty Images like me and you see these three like little dots, make sure you just get rid of these dots first, because they kind of get annoying and they can just ruin your final edit after. It's kind of annoying to deal with them after, so just deal with them first. And then the second thing you want to do is plan ahead. So I think I'm going to put the underwater, and this is the picture I'm going to use. I'm going to put the water underneath Edwards, and also still have the Moda center there. So I'm just gonna have to mask this out, and I'm also gonna have to mask out a couple of the players so that everything will go over the water instead of just under, and you won't be able to see it. So right now I'm gonna mask out some players and also this banner right here. You can use the pen tool or you can use select subject, but in this case I'm gonna just go ahead and use the pen tool, because the selection, I'm not saying this can be super rough, but it doesn't have to be like insanely accurate because of the way that the water is gonna affect everything. So just do your best in masking for like bigger scenes like this that you get. If you do get your picture off Getty, I don't know if you will, it's hard to get that pristine quality where you see all the details, but do your best in masking and you'll be fine. So either use the pen tool or you can go to select subject to make your mask. And you see I'm gonna go right about down to here, because I don't think anything's going to be hitting over the surface of the water is not going to be hitting over anything below this. So I'm going to mask to right around here. If need be, we could add more of a mask. That's why you always mask things out, because you can add more. But in this case, I think that we'll be fine if we go to right here on the mask for about each of them. So what I like to do is I'll just add in a guideline, not a vertical guideline, add in a horizontal guideline so I can see where I should definitely go to. And obviously once you make a mask like this, you just have to duplicate it and delete the layer mask underneath, or you can make extras in the beginning to make sure that you have a nice solid mask, and also keep in the background. So I know I'm gonna make another mask, so I'm gonna make another background copy, and I'm gonna name this one background, and I'm going to name this one and this one will be Moda X Jones, because I need to get some of his hand as well as the motor center mask. Alright, so now you got both these masks now. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to the water layer, and also on this water layer I don't want this girl in this picture, so I'm just gonna mask her out with the polygonal lasso tool. So I'm just gonna go around with the polygonal lasso tool and mask her out right quick. And also I got these pictures off of unsplash.com that I'm gonna be using for the water scene. But I got those pictures off unsplash.com, and I got my NBA pictures off of Getty. Okay, so that's pretty good for masking out the water scene. I'm just using the heel brush. But now I'm just gonna press Control C, or just Control click on the layer icon and Control C, and we're gonna bring it into this picture now. And obviously it's a little bit too big, so I'm resizing it somewhat, and I'm also gonna lower the opacity so I can just see what's beneath right now. And what you're gonna really want to do is just make the horizon line kind of, so where you see this point right here, it's cutting off the building. That's kind of like, it's not a horizon line, but it's kind of like a line that would show you where like the base of the level, the base of the like water would end and where it would cut off into the pouring into the arena, right? So I just used distort, and I'm just like messing around with this right now, and then I'm gonna put it below these two, and then bring my opacity up. And my opacity can be on right around 100%, because yeah, it's gonna be right around 100%, because that's where I want it to be at. And just get rid of the roof because we're bringing in the underwater scene. One more thing that I want to do is just get this leg right here that's in the forefront. I want to get that there, and I'm pretty happy with where the water is for that, so I'm good with that. But I'm gonna drop my opacity down, and I'm gonna just erase kind of softly where the water is that's on this leg, so I can just bring that through and show that he's still in the foreground like that, and then bring my opacity back up. Now you're gonna go on your base photo, right, and we're gonna add a levels adjustment to it. So add a levels adjustment, clip it if you want, and we're kind of gonna just drown out this scene a little bit to make it a little bit less contrast, because that's what you see in water scenes. And all of the things that we clip to this, we're gonna have to clip to these two masks as well, so don't worry, because you can just copy and paste adjustments after. So we're gonna clip those two, and I'm using levels just to kind of drown out the scene's contrast a little bit for the first thing. Then we're gonna go on our reds, and now we're just gonna be focusing on trying to make the scene like look more blue. Okay, so I'm gonna go on my reds and move the slider to get it more to a blue. And this is kind of a little bit of trial and error that you're gonna have to go through to do this, because not every picture is the same. So on your picture it might be a little bit different than mine and all those types of things. So I'm going red first, and then I'm gonna go blue or green. But if you mess around on green, you can actually bring in some blues, because green is really related to blue, but it's looking a little bit too purplish, so I don't want to go in that purple direction. So I'm gonna work on my blues too. So you're just gonna have to go on your levels and play around a good amount with your colors. And after you just keep playing around and tweaking with it, you will start to see everything coming together. Another thing you can do is use color balance, use curves. There's all these types of things to be able to help you in Photoshop. So I like to use color balance because I feel like it gives me nice tones that I think are gonna work well for me. So what you really just want to do is just make sure you have things matching. So that color balance, I think that's starting to look pretty nice in blue, right? Kind of drowned out with the levels. That definitely helped, and the color balance. And then the last thing that I'm going to do for right now is I'm going to go on my neutrals and just try to enhance this a little bit more to look a little bit bluer. And you don't want it to be like the super saturated blue, but you don't want it to be non-saturated at all, so that you don't have any blue. And then, like I said, we're gonna clip these adjustments to these layers here, like this. And now you see everything is blue on here. And one more thing I'm gonna actually do, so I don't start using too many layers, is I'm just gonna merge these two together, honestly. So I'm gonna unclip these, and I'm gonna merge these two layers together for right now into a smart object, and then clip these to them. So I just have one clipping instead of two. Okay, so now you have like this light, right? This light that's indicating that it's underwater. So what you're gonna do is just put a layer mask on and use your little soft brush, and I'm just gonna soft brush the bottom of that out so it's not so harsh. And now we're starting to see that we're getting somewhere with this scene. So I feel like my mask is a little bit too harsh, right? And it's obviously gonna probably happen when you're masking something out with a pencil, because it's really precise. So what I like to do is go in with like a soft brush, and I'm just gonna soft brush some of these areas out and just try to get them really detailed As you go on each step, you just want to make sure you're paying attention to all the detail. So just soft brush these parts out that are really just rigid, and this is going to help bring out some more expertise in your work. So just use a soft brush on your layer mask and just kind of just brush in some nice soft black strokes with your brush, and this is going to help you. Alright, so once you're done doing that, make a new layer above, and this is just going to be like supporting blue, I guess you can call it. And what you're going to do is go on the surface layer that you have right here, the surface layer. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a sample from here. So I'm going to press I, that's my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to use a sample of this blue color, and I'm just going to paint it onto the scene. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to give you a more accurate depiction of the color. So once you're on the hue, you can just move around the hue a little bit, and I want it to be a little bit brighter over where everything is, right? So I'm gonna just lower my flow really down and my opacity, and now from here I'm gonna probably put this on soft light, and I'm gonna brush in some tones, and you're just gonna have to mix around. You might have to mix around with your brush and the but your blend modes and your brush, and you're just gonna find where you feel comfortable and where the water and the scene match really well together. And just make sure it's not on 100 opacity, because that's gonna just take away from what you're trying to do. And also when you're painting, you can just move around on different colors, and just remember that your lightest blues are going to be at the top, and everything's going to get darker from there. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this as well. And honestly, like, you'll just get the hang of it, and you'll find your groove where you think light should be at. You can also go to your water layer right here and kind of match some of the tones with levels, because we did a lot on the base layers in the mask. So if you want to try and match some of your tones with levels, that's also a good idea. So see how that looks before and after with just like a little slide. My eyes are just more resonating with that way more than before, and just takes a little bit of changing to your layer, because there are more greens before, but now I'm really just capturing that blue essence from the picture. And then I'm seeing, like, on the edges that there's a lot of blue, bright blue on the edges, and I don't think we're gonna get a lot of bright blue on the edge, so I'm going on the same hue that I already had and kind of just brushing in this to make it look even more realistic as we go. Okay, so now you're gonna add another layer, and this layer is gonna be on overlay most likely. And what you're gonna do on this overlay layer is bring in a almost black, if not black, it's just gonna be a really dark of the blue tone color. So I'm gonna get my eyedropper tool. Where is it? I'm trying to press I, but it's not working. So pick a blue color or a really dark blue color, in this somewhere around here, and you're just gonna paint on the bottom some darkness, because it's just going to be more dark towards the bottom than on the top. So this is kind of creating that nice gradient. And once you paint this, it doesn't have to be on 100% opacity. Just kind of work it out and see what looks best. So see how I'm just getting that nice gradient from that. And now I'm just going to flip this color to the white, and I'm painting in highlights from this water that's going to go down into the source like that, and just play around on your flow. And we're starting to really capture this look of underwater submergence, whatever you may want to call it. Starting to capture that look very well. And if you want to bring some darkness back, you can just flip-flop your colors, because I was about to add a layer mask, but now I'm like, why would I just flip-flop my colors? You can just flip your colors. Like, say you want a player to be more dark, just flip your colors, and this will help. Flipping your colors just with X to flip the colors on your panel. So one other thing that I'm seeing is just the amount of red that's in here, like on the jerseys in particular. So from my selective color that I already used, I'm gonna go onto, instead of neutrals, I'm gonna go to the reds, and on the reds, I'm just gonna slide the slider a little bit. I don't know if it's gonna give me that much of a difference, but it's worth a shot. Yeah, I'm not seeing too much of a difference, but you can play around on the reds as well, because sometimes I just like having like the more of the white of the jersey pop out than the red tones, but we can work on that. So another layer that you're gonna have to add, or if you want to, you can add a little bit of shadow work. It's kind of up to you though. I don't know how much like shadow is really gonna be seen, especially from underground, but if you just paint black like where you want a shadow to be, like say if I'm looking at a picture, like I can't see too much shadow from something, but if you want to have a little bit of shadow, that's definitely cool. And you could just paint something like this, like where there might be shadows, but definitely on low opacity, because you're not going to see too much shadow in an underwater scene. So just put on like low opacity, just a little touch to it, and then I'm probably gonna put it on just a normal filter blur, so just like a little Gaussian blur right there to just make a low shadow, low contrast of where the subjects are at in the scene. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And then you're gonna add a color dodge group, so add a layer, and I'm just gonna put this to color dodge, or I'm gonna actually add a solid fill layer. So I'm gonna sample this color here. I'll just sample this, and then I'm going to add a solid color like that, and I'm going to put it on color dodge, and I'm also going to just invert the mask. Either color dodge or overlay works. I'm going to invert the mask, and this is like kind of a glow layer, I guess. It's kind of a glow layer, but kind of not, because you're just going to have to, this is just where you really want some of your lights to just be really hitting. So like on the edge of this, the stanchion, I want this to hit very brightly. Like the basketball, I'd want that to hit very brightly. His arm. So you're gonna have to just maneuver around on this and just make things pop out or glow as they would. Like just try to keep it pretty realistic, but you can have things that look a little bit unrealistic just to add that flair to your scene, right? And the great thing about having it on a solid fill layer is that you can change the color. You can just change the color like as you want, or the hue. You probably don't want to mess around too much changing the hue, but you can do that if you want to. And also you could use blending options and blend in the colors a little bit too, which could help and make things look pretty cool. So just play around on this. I'm gonna take some time and just make this a little bit more crispy, and then we'll move on to the next step.
We're almost there.
Thing I like to do when I do the hair highlights is I like to I'll just brush a little bit on, like I'll brush some random spots that kind of coincide with the hair, but then I just use my blur tool, and this like just blurs the hair to make it really like fit with the scene. It looks pretty cool to me. So that's just a little tip for you guys as well. And then since we have these masked out, like at halfway we have them masked out, what you can do is hold down Control, click, and we can make a nice little linear light layer beneath. So actually I'm not going to Control click, I'm just going to add another solid fill layer like I did before. So I'm going to go to solid color, boom, and when linear light is so bright you can go to a darker color, and then I'm just going to put it on linear dodge, not linear light, linear dodge, just like that. And I don't know, maybe we might go really bright, but you're just gonna invert this, and this is just gonna be a light source from this water right here that's really glowing right behind him like that, and that's just bringing through some nice light to the scene as well. You don't want to go too crazy, but you still want to have some fun with it. So put the opacity down a little bit lower, and I didn't finish my color dodge layer yet, but we're almost there. Alright, so now we're at somewhere where we're like, alright, this looks pretty cool. So now you can like kind of play around and see, maybe I want to use a gradient map or something like that. Probably put my gradient map on like soft light. That's what I would do. And gradient maps can definitely help and just bring out some nice values that you might want to have on your scene. And this looked pretty dope, honestly, in my opinion. So you can try and see if you want to put some gradient maps on there. Maybe you don't want to, but I do like using gradient maps a good amount. And what this is doing for me, I'm adding a curves on top of it. It's bringing out the highlights versus the lowlights, or whatever you want to call them, for the scene, definitely. Like that. And also things like brightness and contrast. You know, you can really use anything at the end of your composition, or once you're towards the end. You can just really use anything, honestly, that you think is gonna benefit your concept. So like that, maybe. I don't want it to be too contrasty, because that's not really what water scenes look like. Because if you have too much contrast, it just kind of looks weird. Because water scenes are more like chill, a little bit blurry, not too blurry, but a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of blur at the end, and then I'm gonna also just fix my mask up a little bit. Maybe just get some of it out too, but yeah. So you see, I'm just like tapping on the outside. I'm not really like on the inside deleting it. I'm just tapping on the outside, and this also can show the brightness of the basketball, as well as some nice edge cleanup. So just kind of tap. You don't have to do too much. Just kind of tap. Alright, so now everything's looking pretty cool and all like that. So we can kind of bring in some bubbles and start having a little bit more fun on this scene. So if you want to bring in some bubbles, like, you can just get these from Unsplash. Like I said, I got all these pictures from unsplash.com. So I'm going to start bringing in some bubbles to the scene just to start filling it out. So I'm going to put this on, and the blending mode's going to kind of differ from each piece. And where I want this to be right now, because I see that Anthony Edwards is jumping, so where he's jumping at, I want the bubbles to be like where that is. So I'm going to bring my opacity back up and kind of just play around and see which layer mode I want to use. Maybe screen, but it's a little bit too green there. I'm not too sure. Let's see. I think I'm gonna try screen right now, and I'm gonna try to blend it into the scene. Maybe that'll help a little bit. That's not really helping, so I'm gonna go to levels, clip the levels to it, drop some of it out. I'm gonna go to my blue filter, or my blue. There we go. See, I'm starting to get some of those blues in there. Now it's like not gonna mess with my scene as much. Then maybe bring in a little bit of green with the reds. Let's see. See, it's kind of all trial and error. Not all, but you have to make sure you have a good sense of your colors and things like that when you want to do these type of scenes in Photoshop or things like that. And yeah. So now I'm just gonna start bringing in like a lot of bubbles, just making this scene flesh out more, and making sure my masks don't have like hard edges on your mask. That doesn't look good. So here's my bubbles here. I don't want them to be on Aunt Simon's. I forgot how to say it. Just masking them out. And also I'm gonna put a little bit of blur gallery on this. So I'm gonna go to path blur, and I'm gonna put the blur in this direction because he's jumping upwards. right? So something like that. Add a little sauce, and then I'm putting the speed down relatively low, but you can still see the difference. And then I'm gonna press OK. So that's the first set of bubbles. Sounds funny when I say it. That's the first set of bubbles. And I'm also gonna warp it a little bit. Just kind of play around here and have a little bit of fun with it. See what you want to do. This is all kind of just detailing work. All the hard stuff is out of the way, kind of. So now we're just gonna work on our detailing work. So I'm gonna add in a new one. And this one's, I want to put one on just like the forefront of the picture, just to show the full wide range of bubbles and really get that underwater feel to our composition. So I'm gonna add this one on top. Obviously, it's a little bit too big again. And I'm just gonna kind of warp it like that. Let's see. Oh man. These layer modes are not being kind to me, are they? Let's see. I'm gonna try to put it on screen again. Dropping my opacity down. Let's play around with levels again. Like this. Here we go. We're getting somewhere with this. Okay. So I'm gonna set my opacity to around 30, and then from there I'm going to just erase some areas so that it's not literally all over, so it's kind of spread out for the bubbles instead of everywhere. So just use a soft brush and you'll be able to create this easily. There's gonna be less at the bottom or at the top. Just try to get it to a more realistic look. Maybe use a little bit of color balance too. But since it's on screen, it's not gonna do too much. And now I'm still playing around with these bubbles too. The good thing about it is I have a, whoops. Yeah, I also put those bubbles on blur, a little bit of blur, that helped them. And then I have a black layer too. I don't know why that's not loading in, but I have this layer right here. This one will help as well. Because I mean, Ant's not the only one that's jumping on here, and this is on a black screen, so I don't have to worry about the color adjustment. So try to get some pictures that might be on a black screen, so then you won't have to worry about the color adjustment as much. See, when I put that to screen, it's right there where I need it to be. All I need to do is erase from the top because of that color change. So boom, I'm just gonna add a couple of these actually. There's gonna be one under his feet here, and you're just gonna play around on these layers and try to get your scene looking more realistic underwater, right? So to complement these bubbles, I'm actually going to just paint a little bit over them because they're really like white right now. So I'm just gonna try and complement them a little bit. So I'm putting on color dodge just to kind of get a little bit of color on them. I don't want too much because this part is really dark, but especially like right here, I mean, this won't hurt just putting it on a little bit of color dodge. And then I'm gonna try and grab this layer. Which one is this? Hold on. Yeah. I'm gonna try and blend this into the scene a little bit more, because I'm getting like too many tones that I don't like there. Something more like that. Alright, so yeah, at this point you guys should be good to go. I'm just going to add in some little effects that I want to do, and then I'm going to show you guys what I would do in Camera Raw filter to complete this image. Alright, so once you are like all set and you really think it looks dope and all that, I just add a little crack in the ground and some rocks flying up from him, like exploding into this dunk, right? So once you guys think you're all set, you can merge your picture together. So you just press Control Shift Alt E. If you're on a Mac, Alt is Option, so it's Control Shift Alt E, and now I have a normal layer. What I like to do, so I'm going to try it out this time, is I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to set this layer to screen blending mode, right? So I'm going to set it to screen, and I'm going to blur this layer by about 30. I'm going to blur this layer by about 30. And this kind of gives it that dreamy effect, and I think that kind of works really well with an underwater scene. Then I drop my opacity down to, I don't know, somewhere around like 60 or something like that. Then I'll add a layer mask and brush in just the places that are actually going to be more in focus. So I want the hoop to be more in focus, obviously Anthony to be more in focus, and then the bottom, that just looks pretty cool to me. And also on the bottom, I feel like we can have a little bit of a darker tone, so I'm just gonna paint a little bit of blue, dark blue, on the bottom again, just like that, just on the areas where I feel like we can have more darkness, and probably drop the opacity down a little bit. If you ever feel like you are getting too dark and you're kind of erasing some of the detail, you could just bring it back by duplicating the layer, putting it on a black and white layer, and then painting on whatever color you make the black and white the biggest contrast of the black and white. I can show that in a different video though. So something like that to right there. So I think right there we're looking really good, and this looks really cool. And then the last thing we're gonna do is go into camera raw. So I'm gonna just make a new layer from visible again, and I'm gonna go to filter, camera raw filter. And here we're just gonna play around, not too much because we already have some nice colors going on here, but I'm just gonna get my color to a place where I'm like, all right, I feel really good about this. So I'm gonna bring my highlights down actually a little bit, my shadows, gonna bring those down. Now we're getting more of a contrast between the bottom and the top of the scene, and it's looking really cool. Blacks like this somewhere. Clarity, you don't want your clarity up too high. Maybe bring it up a little bit, but see, if you do too much, it doesn't really portray the watery scene look. Dehaze, somewhere around there. So yeah, in curves or in camera raw, just play around a lot and you'll find something that you like for sure. You just got to play around with your colors a lot, and you'll definitely find something that you're like, oh, I really like that. And everybody's art style is different, so that you don't have to be worried about if yours looks exactly like mine or if it looks exactly like someone else's. Just do your own thing when you're doing your art, and the more you do your own thing, the quicker you're gonna find your own style that you like to create things in. But yeah, so there we go. There it is right there, our watery Anthony Edwards jump in scene. I love it. Make sure you guys drop a like if this helped you out, and hit that subscribe button. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Help me grow my channel. I appreciate you guys. My name is Calvin. I go by Calsoscoped, and any questions, let me know down below. Until next time, guys, stay scoped. I'm out. Peace.